think the most frustrating thing with the academic research game that I've ever experienced is the number of people that buy into the tenure system and the number of people that start feeling the stress of the tenure system almost immediately when they get into a PhD program, because they're not used to failing. They're not used to finding a different definition for themselves other than how they qualify or how other people look at them based on some artificial boundaries that we often set. They're so set in the testing system. Their sense of self, their sense of acknowledgement, their sense of life is all about getting past that one particular barrier that they often face. And what everybody misunderstands is that pressure never goes away. That feeling that you're never good enough, that feeling that there's always something more that you have to do never goes away. And so what people start to process and think about is, if I get tenure, if I get this PhD, if I get into this program, if my whole life is going to work out and everything is going to be this particular way. And they have such an imagined history or imagined future that they completely misunderstand the point, that has very little to do with whether you actually get that or not, achieve that or not. The whole system is set up to recognize the fact that you had done it at one point. I think we often use these systems, these goalposts, as a way to measure our self-worth, and we look at it and we say, this is what our goal actually is, and we're forecasting that if we meet this goal, everything will change in our life. What everybody misunderstands is that your life is not going to change that much. That feeling that you're wrestling with, all of that stuff, that yucky feeling that nobody likes you, that you have to do this to prove to somebody else, never goes away. You know, for me, those inner demons are those moments when I was really, really lonely as a kid, and I couldn't process why that was actually happening, and I didn't realize it was just part of life at the time, and part of transition as you grow and develop. You just don't have that many friends that are going to be around you unless you're in a weird, very special circumstance, because most people don't want to grow and develop. It's hard. You have to wrestle with a lot of things. So finding that group that is going to laugh along with you, they just often don't exist in most of your life. And what I'm thankful for is I've had parents that were able to deal with that as me as a person that didn't want to just stay at that particular place in time, and I wanted to grow. My dad struggled with it a fair bit, that I wanted to do this, but my mom was always supportive, and she always recognized me, and I'm not sure why, recognized me for who I was at any given time. Now, that's the thing I think is a little bit challenging. I had the support at home. I had the family at home that loved me unconditionally, no matter what was happening. Even though my dad, I think, he really struggled with it. And I had to fight for my way, as as stubborn as a mule, to get into university. I was the first in my family to go to university. First in my family to do many different things like that. And I always had to fight in a very subtle way. But a lot of people don't have even that support of the unconditional love of even one person that's around them, that they tell them that they have to achieve this in order for them to love you. And unfortunately, that creates a lot of inner demons in all of us to withstand this pressure that we often have to compete. It's only more explicit when you get in the academic research game. It's not as explicit, it's more implicit. You can't see it, it's covert in the regular world, but in the academic game, When you become a researcher, a scholar, it's very explicit, and everybody understands where you actually are and what you are actually doing. And they don't like you when you're doing things that are strange and unusual or don't fit in. And so you have to turn off that desire. You have to figure out how to say screw you to the rest of the world, or become numb or dead to what everybody else thinks of you. And if you can't do that without creating that little bubble that's around you, you're going to suffer for a lot in your life as you do the academic game, because you're always going to measure yourself by somebody else. You're always going to want to get to some place in order to say that I am good enough at that moment. And the problem is if you don't have that, you take it out in many different ways. And you're frustrated with how the work actually goes. You can't reconcile the fact that often it's just very difficult to figure it out, and that there is no truth, that there's no right way, and you can never prove to anybody else that you are successful. And unfortunately, because of that, you have a tortured existence no matter what actually happens to you and how wonderful that your life actually is. If you don't take that moment to look around and say, I'm actually doing well. Inside, I am well. The world is my oyster. You're always going to be narrowly defined in terms of getting that particular hurdle, getting tenure, getting that PhD, getting that full professor, whatever it is that you want to call it, whatever it is that you're seeking. It's not going to satisfy you, and you're tortured inside. And I'm not saying that I am above this. It's a tortured existence that I often live, and I try to fight against it in my mind. And no matter how hard I try, it's still there. The only thing I can do is listen to those stories of the people that have gone before me, of how they themselves have learned to deal with this tortured existence, from the Einsteins to the Sir Sanford Flemings to all of the other researchers and scientists around the world that have had to deal with this over the history of what they have actually done. You wrestle, you try to figure it out, and you can't satisfy that urge of wanting people to actually like you, and it never happens. And so you have to figure out, how do I process this? How do I deal with this? How do I identify that one moment to talk to that person long time ago when they were a child and say, you know what? There's nothing that you can do at this moment, and you're doing just fine. You're just a kid, and you're doing just fine with who you actually are. Even though it's lonely, even though that this person is putting pressure on you, you're just fine. Just realize that. Take care, and have a wonderful day.